Okay, let's just dive right in. It's fascinating, isn't it, how sometimes just one sentence, like a single phrase uttered somewhere, can just blow up.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you mix language, a huge celebrity, and that deep sense of regional identity.
Exactly. And that's precisely what we're seeing with Kamal Hassan's film Thug Life. It's ignited this whole firestorm, potentially even leading to a ban in Karnataka.
It's a really potent mix. It shows just how sensitive these cultural lines can be and how fast things can escalate now. One comment and boom.
Yeah, totally. So we've been digging through all the reports, the statements, trying to piece together the background. Our goal here with this deep dive is really to unpack it. Why did this one comment hit so hard? What were the reactions? And what does it tell us about the bigger picture?
It's definitely complex. It's got linguistic pride, political reactions, and of course, the huge stakes of a major film release all tangled up together.
For sure. So where did it actually start? The spark, as it were.
Okay, so the flashpoint was May 24th, 2025. It happened at the audio launch event for Thug Life, held down in Chennai.
An audio launch, standard industry stuff.
Yeah,
But who was there matters, right?
it does. Critically, Canada superstar Shivraj Kumar was present at the event. That context is pretty important for what came next.
Right. Sets the stage. So what exactly did Kamal Hassan say?
He was talking apparently about relationships, languages, that sort of thing, and then he dropped the line, "Your language, Canada, was born out of Tamil, so you too are included."
Oof. Your language was born out of Tamil. Okay. Now, he did try to clarify later, didn't he? Saying it was about, unity or shared history.
He did. He framed it as coming from a place of love, based on historical linguistic theories, but how it was received in Karnataka, that was a whole different story. It landed like a provocation.
And the reaction wasn't slow, was it?
Not at all. Incredibly fast. By May 27th, so just 3 days later, protests were already kicking off in Karnataka.
Wow, 3 days. That's lightning speed. Tells you how strongly people felt, which
Right.
groups were involved.
Pro-Canada organizations were quick to mobilize. The Karnataka Rakshana Vidaik, the KRV, specifically the faction led by Praveen Shetty, they were really visible early on.
And they weren't just protesting verbally.
No, they took direct action, started tearing down posters for Thug Life. There were specific reports, I think, from near the INOX in Belagavi, making a very clear statement.
Poster tearing. And then they went further.
Yep. They also filed a formal police complaint that was at Bengaluru's RT Nagar station.
Oh, please complete. Okay, so what was the actual charge? What were they alleging?
The core of it was that they felt Hassan's words were a deliberate insult, not just a mistake, but intended to hurt Canada pride and create friction between Tamil and Kannada speakers. They even tried to link it to a pattern, suggesting Tamil films sometimes cause issues when released there.
So framing it as intentional disrespect, maybe even trying to stir things up. And then things escalated politically.
That was the next big step. The official political machinery got involved. May 28th, the very next day, Karnataka's Minister for Canada and Culture, Shivraj Tangadagi, he went public.
He didn't just comment, did he?
No, he demanded a ban on the film, straight up, unless Kamal Hassan apologized. He even sent a formal letter about it to the Karnataka Film Chamber of Commerce, the KFCC.
A state minister demanding a ban. That's serious pressure. Was he alone?
Not entirely. The chief minister, Siddaramaiah, also weighed in. His comment was maybe a bit softer. He suggested Hassan was, quote, unaware of Canada's history.
Unaware, implying ignorance rather than malice maybe, but still dismissing the claim itself.
Exactly. And what's really telling is that the criticism wasn't just from one party.
Who else?
Even the state BJP chief, Bhai Vijayendra, called the statement disrespectful.
Right, so when you have leaders from opposing parties agreeing on something like this.
It signals just how significant the issue is perceived to be within Karnataka. It cuts across political lines.
So massive pressure-building protest, police complaint, politicians demanding action. How did Kamal Hassan himself respond to all this heat?
Well, Kamal Hassan has a reputation for standing his ground, doesn't he? And he pretty much did that here. His first public response came on May 29th while he was actually in Thiruvananthapuram.
And what was his message?
Pretty blunt. He said his comment came from love, and then, famously now, love will never apologize.
Love will never apologize. Wow, that's definitive. Did he elaborate on the historical part?
Yeah, he stuck to his guns, saying it was based on linguistic history. He suggested, that these kinds of debates should be for historians, archaeologists, and language experts, not politicians.
Trying to take it out of the political arena, frame it as academic?
Sort of. He also brought up Tamil Nadu's own inclusive history, pointing out they had had a Kannadiga Iyengar as chief minister, clearly referencing Jayalalitha, maybe trying to imply a shared past and less division.
Interesting tactic. But as the pressure mounted, especially with the film chamber getting involved, did his tone change?
It seemed to harden, actually. By May 30th, he was back in Chennai, and the KFCC deadline was looming. He basically reiterated, "If I'm wrong, I'll apologize. If I'm not, I won't. This is my lifestyle. Please don't tamper with it."
Don't tamper with my lifestyle. That's quite a statement. Sounds very much like the Kamal Haasan we saw during previous controversies, like Vishwarupam.
Exactly. Standing firm, refusing to bend when he believes he's right. And that stance directly led to the next chapter with the film industry body.
Right. The KFCC, the Karnataka Film Chamber of Commerce, they had to step in. Their president, M. Narasimhalu, called a meeting, right, on the 29th.
Yes, brought everyone together. Key people, including the person with the most skin in the game financially.
The distributor for Karnataka.
Exactly.
But
Hermitage Kamalakar, he was there.
And the money involved for him wasn't small, I gather.
No, reports suggested he'd put in something like 8 crore just for the Karnataka theatrical rights.
8 crore. Okay, so a huge personal investment riding on this film getting released there. Massive pressure.
Immense pressure on everyone at that meeting to figure something out.
So what did the KFCC decide?
The verdict, apparently unanimous among those there, was crystal clear. If Haasan doesn't apologize, Thug Life doesn't release in Karnataka. Simple as that.
A direct ultimatum. Were other voices from the Kannada film world supporting this?
Yes, definitely. Saragavindu, a former KFCC president, he publicly backed the ban. And Jayama, the veteran actor, she also spoke out.
What was her take?
She kind of summed up a common feeling, saying, look, even if he didn't mean it badly, the statement itself was just wrong. Because in her view, in the common view there, Kannada wasn't born from Tamil. She basically advised him to just apologize.
So a fairly united front from the local industry backing the ban if no apology came.
Which led to the official announcement. On May 30th, 2025, the KFCC confirmed it. Thug Life was officially banned in Karnataka. The reason given, Haasan's refusal to apologize.
And the film was supposed to come out just days later, June 5th.
Exactly. A major market just shut down right before the release. It really shows the depth of the reaction.
Okay, so let's unpack that reaction more. Why did this one sentence, this specific idea, hit such a raw nerve in Karnataka? What's the underlying context?
It really cuts to the core of identity and linguistic pride there. For Kannadigas, Kannada isn't just, some minor offshoot. It's recognized as an ancient Dravidian language. Its history goes back, way over 1,000 years.
That's a classical language with a huge tradition.
A massive, independent literary tradition. You've got texts like the Kavirajamarga dating back to around 850 CE. That kind of heritage, that history, it's a source of immense pride. It defines a lot of their cultural identity.
So when someone suggests a language with that kind of deep, independent history, it was just born out of Tamil.
It's seen as deeply disrespectful. It feels like it diminishes their entire heritage, almost erases their distinct identity. It's not heard as like an academic point about linguistic links. It's heard as a dismissal. Think about it telling any major culture they're just a derivative of another one. That's almost always going to cause offense.
And those pro-Canada groups, the KRV we mentioned, they see themselves as protectors of this.
Absolutely. They have a long track record of defending the language against anything they see as a slight, whether it's comments like Haasan's or bigger issues like arguments over Hindi imposition. This comment was like a direct challenge to the very thing they exist to protect.
And there was another layer too, right? A feeling of betrayal.
Yeah, that definitely came up. Some people pointed out that Karnataka had actually supported Kamal Haasan during his tough time with the Vishwarupam ban in Tamil Nadu back in 2013.
Ah, right.
So from their perspective, it felt like, we backed you then, and this is how you repay us. It added a sort of personal sting to the whole thing.
That makes sense. And this all fits into the wider picture of language politics in South India.
Oh, for sure. There's often been a sense of South Indian unity when it comes to defending regional languages, especially against perceived Hindi dominance. Some people, like KRV chief Narayana Gowda, actually framed Haasan's comment as being deliberately divisive. They called it a low-level political ploy, suggesting it could actually damage that South Indian linguistic solidarity, like driving a wedge between Tamil and Kannada speakers.
So, not just historically inaccurate in their view, but maybe even politically motivated. And then, of course, social media fanned the flames.
Massively. The outrage online was instant. You had hashtags like hashtag #BanThugLife trending almost immediately, and people weren't just venting, they were arguing back, questioning the linguistic claim itself.
Like bringing up specific counterarguments.
Yeah, you saw things like people pointing out Canada has 56 letters versus Tamil's 26, using that as a sort of simple, visible way to push back against the idea that one just came from the other. It became a huge, very public debate.
Okay, so it touched on history, identity, politics, past relationships, multiple sensitivities at once. What about the practical stakes? Beyond the offense, what's really on the line here?
Well, firstly, the film itself is a big deal. Thug Life isn't just any movie. It's the reunion of Mani Ratnam and Kamal Haasan after, 37 years?
Yeah.
Since Nine.
Which was a landmark film. That alone creates massive anticipation.
Huge buzz. And the cast is stacked too. Silam Barasan, Trisha Krishnan, Abhirami, Aishwarya Lakshmi. It was set up to be a major cinematic event across the South.
So losing a key market like Karnataka, that has real financial impact.
Oh, absolutely significant. Karnataka is a critical territory for South Indian cinema releases. A ban there means serious financial risk. We mentioned the distributors reported 8 crore investment just for Karnataka.
That could evaporate.
Potentially, yeah, or be significantly damaged. And it definitely hurts the film's overall box office potential. It's a big chunk of the audience gone.
So one comment ends up having this huge, costly ripple effect.
It really underscores the economic consequences that can follow when public statements hit these cultural tripwires. And beyond just thug life, this whole situation sends a pretty strong message to the wider film industry, doesn't it?
Like a warning sign.
Yeah, a stark reminder about the potential caution when talking publicly about sensitive historical or cultural issues linked to identity.
Now, you mentioned Vishwarupam earlier. This isn't Kamal Haasan's first rodeo with film bans and controversy.
No, it's not. That 2013 situation with Vishwarupam was quite similar in some ways.
That was in Tamil Nadu itself, though, wasn't it? With religious groups objecting.
Exactly. Religious objections led to a ban there, and his response then, also very firm. He stood his ground, talked about the financial ruin he faced, very defiant.
In that case, the ban was eventually overturned and the film did well.
It did. It became a hit. So you see the consistency in his defiance, his willingness to fight back. But the core issue here feels different.
Oh, so.
Vishwarupam was about religious sensitivity, specific content. This thug life situation revolves around linguistic pride, cultural identity, something that feels maybe even more fundamental to a region's self-perception.
Less about objecting to a scene, more about objecting to a perceived insult to their very being, almost.
Precisely. That's why some are framing this less as a simple film dispute and more like a cultural referendum. It feels like a direct clash over identity, which might play out differently than the religious sensitivity issue did. The dynamics feel deeper somehow.
Okay, so if we tie all this together, the history, the politics, the money, Haasan's track record, what are the big takeaways from this whole episode?
Well, first, it's just a potent reminder of how much weight words can carry, especially from public figures. A comment intended one way, maybe even based on some academic theory, can just land completely differently depending on the context.
The context is everything.
Absolutely. Historical sensitivities, current political vibes, cultural pride, they all shape how a statement is heard and received. And this whole thing is just a textbook case of culture, politics, and business crashing into each other.
Yeah, a comment about language history triggers political demands, which then hits the film industry right in the wallet.
Exactly. Shows how interconnected it all is and how quickly a cultural issue can become an economic one.
So with the ban in place from the KFCC, what happens next? What are the possible ways forward mentioned in the sources?
Basically, 2 main paths seem possible. One is Haasan could still decide to apologize or offer some kind of clarification that satisfies the groups in Karnataka and the KFCC. That would likely need some negotiation.
Meaning he'd have to walk back his love won't apologize stance.
He would. The other option, probably more in line with his past behavior, is to fight it legally. Challenge the ban in court, just like he did with Vishwarupam.
Neither sounds easy. Both seem to have big risks.
Definitely. If he apologizes, he might upset parts of his own Tamil fan base, people who see it as giving in, maybe even undermining his own points about language. But if he doesn't apologize and fights it, he risks permanently losing that vital Karnataka market and taking that financial hit.
It's a really tough spot for him and the filmmakers. A real bind.
It absolutely is. You've got the standoff, a major star sticking to his guns versus regional groups and authorities fiercely guarding their language and pride. How it resolves? Well, that's still up in the air. It's balanced right on that edge between principle, negotiation, and hard economic facts.
So as we wrap up this deep dive on the thug life situation, it really makes you think, doesn't it, about how we talk about history and identity today. In a world that's so connected, but where local pride is also incredibly strong, how do people, especially artists or public figures, navigate these really sensitive areas?
Yeah, and where is that line? The line between, say, expressing a genuine belief about a shared cultural past, which is what Hassan claims he was doing, and causing real offense because others have a deeply held different understanding of their own unique heritage.
It's a tricky balance. This whole controversy really throws that question into the spotlight. It's a story that's still playing out, and whatever happens next will probably tell us even more about how art, identity, and public reaction collide in contemporary India.